Good evening. Welcome to the October 17th Stillwater City Council meeting. I call the meeting to order. And before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to introduce two special guests and ask them to come forward. We have Ronnie and Josephine Shirley. Who is Ronnie? Okay, and who's Josephine? Okay, all right. Would everybody please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ronnie and Josephine. You can stay up at the podium if you'd like. Boy, we need to switch. Will you switch places with your sister? Okay. Yeah, that way we can kind of see her face when we're talking to her. Okay, so, Ronnie, what school are you in?
I am in SMS, the Stillwater Middle School.
And Josephine?
I'm in Cedar Ridge Elementary School.
Okay, very good. And Josephine, this one's for you. What's your favorite subject in school?
Recess.
Okay.
And art.
Because what do you do at recess? You told me.
Because it's fun to play with my friends.
And you talk to your friends, right?
Yeah.
So you can be quiet during school.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ronnie, what's your favorite subject?
History, but it would be if I had a history class.
Okay. Okay, now, Ronnie, this one's for you. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Either an airshell pilot or a guy who designs Lego sets.
You could move to San Diego. And Josephine, what do you want to do when you grow up?
A karate teacher or a teacher, like a regular teacher.
Like the really important kind of teachers, right? Yeah, yeah. I think those are both great professions, and I'm very proud that you have already set your goals so high. That's good. You have to stay in school and do well, right?
Okay.
Okay, all right, that was easy. Counselors, do you have any questions for Josephine or Ronnie?
I do.
Yes.
Do you guys get along as brother and sister?
Sometimes.
There's the politician. Josephine, you probably love hanging with your big brother, don't you?
Sometimes.
You did a nice job of sharing the podium. And
Yeah.
That mic's going to be broken now.
They can't blame it on me anymore. All right.
Did we ask who brought her? I always
It's
love
so
that
true.
answer.
Who brought you here tonight?
My mom.
Yeah, my mom and dad.
And can you tell me who your mom and dad are?
Sarah Shirley and Ron Shirley.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for bringing them here tonight. This is my favorite part.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You want green?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. It's chocolate. Chocolate's chocolate, you know.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's look right here. Turn around. Get your seat right here. All right. Yes. Thank you. Hey, very nice to meet you.
You're welcome.
Go be a teacher. Very nice to meet you, too. Go be a video game or, whatever. You had all kinds of...
Ha.
Good job. Now we have two proclamations. Councilor Zanotti is going to present the first one for Friends of the Library. I see that Linda's here.
Whereas the Friends of the Stillwater Public Library raise money that enables our library to transform lives, providing the resources for additional programming, much-needed equipment, support for summer reading, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. And whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. And now, therefore, I, Elaine Zanotti, Counselor of the City of Stillwater, on behalf of Gina Noble, Mayor, do hereby proclaim October 16th through the 22nd, 2016, as Friends of Libraries Week, and urge everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community better. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you all for the proclamation and to again thank the Friends for their support of our library and encourage people to stop by the library this week. We have wonderful little tags up all over the library so you can see the things that the Friends have done to support the library in years past and including this year. And also it just costs $10 a year to join the Friends, or for $100 you have a lifetime membership, and that gets you into the pre-public book sale twice a year. So please come down and see the library this week and how we're thanking our Friends, and we appreciate all they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you too.
It is in October. Get your library card month still?
Well, that was September, but
Well,
we'll
but
still
it's
take them in
October, too.
October.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, and our next presentation is by Counselor Nahara, and it is on Buffalo Soldiers. And is Michael Davis here? Okay, we'll go ahead and read it, and he can pick it up.
All right. Whereas on July 28th, 1866, Congress established 6 all-black regiments to help rebuild the country after the Civil War and to patrol the remote western frontier during the Indian Wars. And whereas these regiments later became the 9th and 10th Cavalry and 24th and 25th Infantry, and whereas they became known as the Buffalo Soldiers because of their intense dedication and fighting spirit, and whereas the Buffalo Soldiers were instrumental in the exploration and settlement of the western United States, and whereas over the 82 years of the Buffalo Soldiers' existence, 23 received the Congressional Medal of Honor, as well as the Medal of Honor, the highest recognition awarded by the United States government for military service. And whereas the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club consists of military men and women dedicated to preserving the memory of these brave soldiers who sacrificed to make our country what it is today. And whereas members of the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club will be visiting Stillwater on October 29, 2016 to participate in the annual Oklahoma State University Homecoming Parade. And now, therefore, I, Miguel Nahara, Stillwater City Councilor of the City of Stillwater, and on behalf of the Stillwater City Council, do hereby welcome the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club to Stillwater on October 29, 2016.
Thank you, Counselor. That brings us to the consent docket. Counselors, does anyone wish to remove an item, or is there a motion for approval of the consent docket?
Motion for approval of the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. And the consent docket is approved with a vote of 4-0. This takes us to the public comment on agenda items not scheduled for public hearing, and we do have several today, so I'd like to start by reminding the audience of the rules for public comment. Speakers are limited to speaking about a specific item on the agenda. Only those who signed up to speak will be allowed. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the council, but need not take all 3 minutes if he or she doesn't need to. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and address. And also let me say, we are aware that there are some concerns, and this is not something that we are voting on tonight. This is just a status report. We are aware that there's some concerns with cost and with availability of inspectors, and so we want you to know that we understand, and this is just a status report. This is not a vote. With all of that said, I would like to call Craig Higley to the podium. Mr. Higley, would you please state your address?
My name's Craig Higley. My address is 3519 West Willow Park Circle.
Okay, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I have over 25 years in the building construction industry. I have experience. I have over 15 years of building code experience with over 8 years working directly for local jurisdictions. I have over 3 years worth of college level courses in building design, construction, and building codes. I have 21 International Code Council certifications, including Master Code Professional, the highest certification a building code professional can achieve. I come before you tonight as one who has the education, experience, and expertise to speak to you as a professional in these matters, as well as a concerned city of Stillwater. Building codes, when properly applied in the construction process, not only provide safety to homeowners and their families, but establish minimum building quality for homes in the community and provide the homeowner with a home that will have fewer issues throughout the life of the home. This proposal we are discussing tonight does have the capabilities to ensure that minimum building standards are met, but only if it is adopted with proper oversight by a responsible party. As this proposal stands now, it does not provide for any oversight or have any sort of checks and balances. Without any sort of proper oversight with the ability to correct issues with those who would seek to abuse this process. It is guaranteed that we will see more substandard building practices in the homes built in Stillwater. This can and will lead to an overall lower quality of new homes. It will create unsafe situations for home occupants and ultimately cost Stillwater homeowners more money to operate and maintain homes over the life of the home. I am sure any good builder would want to meet the minimum adopted building standards. They would want to make sure their competition is also following those same minimum standards and would want to make sure that their home buyers are getting a home that meets the minimum quality standards. This can and only will happen if all the qualified building inspectors are performing proper and sufficient building inspections. Otherwise, they will lower their standards to meet expectations of unscrupulous and uneducated home builders in order to get and maintain work. Remember, home builders do not have to be licensed, nor do they have to have any type of education, certification, or training to be a home builder. There is no way to guarantee or determine that every home builder is qualified to make a judgment call when it comes to any part of the construction process. Experience alone of doing what has always been done does not demonstrate competency in meeting current, up-to-date minimum building standards. Building inspectors are the only licensed professional that will be observing and correcting all parts of the building process. Building inspectors are the only ones between the home builders and the public that are there specifically to protect public safety and their well-being. If the city allows this process to go unregulated, then it is not looking after the safety and well-being of the community. I can only assume and guess as to the real reasons why the city wants to wash its hands of any responsibilities when it comes to home building in Stillwater. Regardless of those reasons, there are other options the city has that would accomplish the city's desire and also provide for the adherence to the minimum building standards. Currently, I cannot and will not support this proposal as is currently written. I will support this proposal or any other proposal that does provide for a reasonable and substantial oversight by the city or another competent entity. I would encourage and advise as a Stillwater's top building code professionals to make necessary changes to the proposal of the provided proper oversight as I have advised the city already, or to explore other options that are also available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higley. Our next speaker is Roger Gose. There it is.
Roger Gose, 113 East 8th. Not against it, but not real for it yet. So I think it's got a lot of work to do, and I think that's probably why it's before you all tonight. Not real sure why the purpose of the city wanting to get out of this responsibility is. If it's a public safety issue, then I think that falls on you, just like the police officers out investigating traffic accidents and writing nice long reports for insurance companies. Maybe you could farm that out and save some more money. If it's a money issue, I don't see any money savings in here. I actually see room maybe for some additional revenue. I just received a summary I haven't got to share with management yet of all the building fees around Oklahoma City in this area. we're quite a bit lower. Not that I want more fees, but it might be better than what this could end up costing us. This will drive up the cost of a house, and it'll just eliminate more buyers from the market. So I hope we can figure out a way. All of a sudden, right now, 54% of the new starts in this area are not even in the city of Stillwater. So you're missing the sales tax on that, plus the electric revenue in the future. All you're getting is the sales tax from groceries and clothing and those kind of things. So I hope it, we pursue it, but it goes slower. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gose. Our next speaker is Charles Snyder.
My name is Charles Snyder. My address is 203 West 12th. As of last week, I'm no longer an employee of the city, so I don't represent you guys any longer, just for clarity for the crowd. I've been here for 16 years. I got a degree here in architectural engineering. This proposal, because, well, now that I'm looking for a job, and I have all the required certifications, would be great for me personally. And I didn't take that job for the money. I took the job because I love this town, and I have no intention of ever leaving this town. Ultimately, in the end, most of the builders in this town, over the 3 years of me working here, do a good job, and they want to do a good job. But there's some that don't. There's some that ultimately, in the end, because of the way they've been building things for 30 years, what their version of common sense is, and ultimately the fact that it's a lot easier to push things through politically than to add a $5 metal strap on an opening of a garage, continue to pelt you with these problems. With the upcoming issues, with the new code adoption, plus the energy code, I can understand why you guys would be scared to continue to deal with this. Just because something's hard doesn't mean that it's not still your job. So I would implore you that if you are going to go and take this route, there needs to be checks and balances and oversight. So far, what I've heard, and not a lot of it's been in writing, you guys want to wash your hands of this. And if you guys continue to go down that route, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to fight it. Because the citizens of this town, especially for what they're paying for housing, deserve code-compliant structures. They do. I plan on, after this meeting, throughout the weeks, meeting with you all individually, because it'll be, now that I'm not a worker here, I can talk to you individually, let you know what I've experienced, and finally give you guys input that I've been wanting to do the whole entire time I've worked here. I'll email you and give you my contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Rusty Craybill.
Hi, Rusty Craybill. I'm a builder, developer here in Stillwater. I just want to talk about the cost, which Roger mentioned. The low end, or the affordable housing, entry-level homes. We have on each home approximately 15 inspections, plus or minus some. If those third-party inspections cost us $100 each, you're adding $1,500 to the cost of that home. That hurts the entry-level home and also some retiree homes. We have people moving back to Stillwater who want to retire here. So my concern is, of course, the cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craybill. Our next speaker is Dan, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Siebert? Siebert, sorry. It was 50-50.
My name is Dan Siebert. I live at 4110 North Fairgrounds Road. I'm current president of the Stillwater Home Builders Association. I haven't been building as long as Rusty has, but I've been building a long time. I've got over 2,000 houses under my belt. And since this is not about voting, while we've got a minute here, I just want to express a little clearer what some of our concerns are. First of all, as Roger said, we're not against anything because we don't have enough information to be against anything. However, what the current proposal is looking at is getting an outside inspector to certify that the house meets code, and their definition of that, our 15 inspections may not even come close. We have no idea what they're going to require to put their name on the line that says that meets code. I doubt very seriously it's the same list of inspections that we incur today. So we're not talking about a $5 strap. We're talking about changing the cost structure of homes significantly, and we need to work into that so it doesn't shut construction down. Everybody's on the same page, and we've got what is best overall for the citizens of Stillwater. Not what we need to do to protect the citizens of Stillwater from evil builders, but what we need to do to work together to make sure that we're serving their interest best. That's what we're after. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Dronberger. Did I even get close?
Yes, I can say it.
Okay. Our next speaker is Dale Sorrell.
Hi, I'm Dale Sorrell, 1521 East 6th. Like Roger, I'm kind of on the fence on this at this point. Haven't seen a lot of information to really know what we'd be getting into, but I can tell you from a plumbing business and heat and air business, and I've talked to other contractors, there are some concerns. I mean, right now, I think to get a permit to replace a water heater or an air conditioner condenser, it's $18.75. And customers blow a gasket that they have to pay that. We add on that an inspection fee from a third party, it's going to be significant. So I don't know how much this has all been thought through. There's no other municipalities that I'm aware of that are doing anything like this. Like I said, I'm not against the concept, but it looks like a lot of work needs to go into it before it's ready to even propose to you guys. And on the home building side, I know these guys, and everybody tries to do a great job. Study the current codes, go to classes that are available. A lot of information comes from National Association of Home Builders that helps with techniques and best practices. Nobody's trying to cut any corners, but sometimes things get missed by a framer or anybody along the way. But moving forward, there's a lot of great education in college and books, but if you were to find someone that has some practical experience, has worked in the field, and had to work through problems where, yeah, we're trying to meet code, but certain things won't work. We need to kind of find a way to meet in the middle where it will work and meet code. So appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sorrell. Our next speaker is Ron Walker.
Thank you, I'll pass.
Okay. Our next speaker is Paul Minnesine. I just didn't read that correctly. Excuse me.
Culmination, 1006 South Union Road. I'm also a contractor, and I do heat and air and plumb. I'm a licensed plumber, and I do home repairs. I also talked to some bankers about this. I think this has to really be thought through, because on a home loan, the inspection fees are built into their loan. If they don't know what the cost of the inspections are going to be, are you going to be telling the people that are going to do the inspections you can only charge X so the banks can figure it out? So before you go any further, I think you need to check with the banks, Because the last thing you want to do is slow down home building where it hurts the sales tax. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was all of our speakers for tonight. So that takes us to, first of all, before I say anything more, thank you for showing up tonight and for telling us your concerns and for sharing with us. We always appreciate when we can hear your opinion. Okay, general orders. Item number 7, Mr. McNichol.
Paula Dennison will bring you up to date on the subject we've just been talking about.
Good evening, Paula Dennison, Development Services Director, and I also appreciate all of the interest from the development community. They have been participating with staff as staff further develop this, and we shared information and they have shared responses back to staff. So I do appreciate that and hope that will continue. In your packets, you have a general report outlining the proposal that we have before you this evening. And included in that report are a couple of flow charts, and I will bring the flow charts up just while I'm talking. There's 2 flow charts included in the report, the current process and then the proposed process. And they are a little difficult to read. They are hopefully more legible on the city's website. But I will go through this report fairly quickly and then open up for any questions that any of you may have of me. One of the primary reasons for building codes, period, many years ago, was to set a certain standard to alleviate any detrimental health and safety issues that have been occurring. Those standards have been adjusted over the years, all the way from somebody just writing down something that seemed reasonable to them, to the Southern Building Code Congress, to BOCA, ICC, which is the International Code Council, that is currently the author and purveyor of the building codes. Previous standards for these codes that applied to the city of Stillwater were adopted by the city of Stillwater with local amendments. Those local amendments were vetted through the adoption process with our Building Trades Board as appointed by the council, and those are representatives of the building community, including the trades. Currently, we are at the 2009 I-codes. The state is setting the standard. They are taking the responsibility of setting the standard for codes from now through the future. The commercial I-codes that have been adopted by the state, the 2015 version, was effective November 1st of 2015. The 2015 International Residential Code, or IRC, will be effective November 1st of this year, just a couple of weeks from now. Since the state has chosen to set these minimum standards, that opened up an opportunity for staff to take a step back and evaluate how the city in our process can be more efficient. Generally, this proposal that we have before you establishes a third-party inspection and certification program for any inspection of 1 and 2 family dwellings only. Not any of the commercial dwellings, but just the 1 and 2 family dwellings. The proposal simply allows the private enterprise. In the past, it has been local government, city staff, but this would allow private enterprise to assure that standards are met as adopted by the state of Oklahoma, who now has the responsibility to establish those standards. A couple of things: the builders could possibly experience more timeliness as they can pre-schedule an inspector to follow that one building construction all the way through, from ground through occupancy. They could also, we would hope and see that they could focus on greater consistency of inspections and interpretation. If you take the thought that the same inspector will be coming out performing all of the inspections on that 1 or 2 family dwelling, city staff, depending on what the inspection is or who is available, most of the time there are multiple city inspectors who go out onto that one dwelling. And not all of what they see, they interpret the same, nor do they interpret all of the codes the same. So consistency, greater consistency. The proposal does include, current proposal does include a reduced building permit cost. We're hoping that that could help offset some of the increased cost from hiring a third-party inspector. What will this do to city inspections and staff? The city inspectors that we have currently on staff, they could refocus towards that public-private infrastructure interface. That would be the water connection, sewer connection, streets, sidewalks, electric, and we would continue to perform the gas inspections because that is considered a life safety component on the 1 and 2 families. We would also turn our focus more to public infrastructure and how it is constructed and the longevity of that public infrastructure. And then to all other types of building construction, which would include all of the construction outside of the 1 and 2 family dwellings if this proposal moves forward. One of the main differences that I would like to bring up, and I've heard Roger made the statement about building outside of city limits. One of the main differences between building inside corporate city limits and outside in the unincorporated Payne County is the inspections. Payne County does not have an inspection program for the county. The assurances of the inspections being completed and complying with the state-adopted minimum standards, those will remain inside the corporate limits of the city of Stillwater. Again, I'll just vocalize what we have also heard, what staff has also heard, is the concerns, the availability of the inspectors who are either now or in the future, if this does proceed, able to come and perform these inspection services. How many of those are out there? The increased cost of the inspections, and of course, as Mr. Sorrell alluded to, any work being performed without inspections. And as the director of the Development Services Department, I can assure you that there is work being performed without inspections on it now. Unfortunately, that is the case. I would hope that this program, that could be alleviated to some extent, and that could be offset with the third-party inspections that we have out there. Okay, any questions at this point? I'll be happy. This, as I said, this is very general. This is not diving into any great detail. We just wanted to run it by the council to see if y'all saw the need for us to proceed and bring back a more fully developed program.
Okay, Councilor Nahara?
I got a bunch. Do you?
I had one immediate clarification. You said outside the city limits, there are no inspections required.
There's not an inspection program operated by Payne County. There are some of the incorporated communities in the county have inspection programs, but the unincorporated area does not.
But they're underneath the state building code standards.
They are, yes. The standards still apply, whether there's an inspection program or not.
Okay.
That is correct. The difference is Stillwater has an inspection program, no matter if it's city staff doing it or the requirement that private enterprise do that inspection, because state law does not prohibit private enterprise from performing those inspections. It's just the city of Stillwater has chosen to provide that service historically.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How many, okay, I'll just ask a couple. How many homes were built in city limits last year?
We issued, in 2015, New housing starts and duplexes, single family and duplexes, and this includes additions, remodels, those type of activities. There were 132 permits issued in 2015.
So one gentleman, I think, stated there's about 13 inspections per home. So does that mean one home is 13 permits, or?
No, we issue multiple, we issue a building permit.
Okay.
We can issue an electric permit,
Okay.
Plumbing, mechanical permit. We can issue a remodel permit.
Okay.
It depends on what the need is to the type of permit that is issued.
Okay. So on a typical new build on 1 and 2 family homes,
Yes.
how many permits are we issuing? Or how many inspections are we performing?
Typically, it could be as few as 7 or 8.
Okay.
And it could go upwards depending on if there are corrections that are needed, and we go out and re-inspect because we count all of those also.
Mm-hmm.
It could go upwards of the 13 to 15 that was mentioned.
So is 7 to 8 more likely and 13's rare? Or?
It also depends on the size of the house.
Okay.
And if it's a custom design, there may be more inspections needed. So 10, let's average 10.
Okay. So with the new program, if I'm understanding it correctly, we would only go out there one time if they had gas. If they didn't have gas, we wouldn't have to go out at all. And the inspector, their third-party inspector, would be in charge of all of that, correct?
On site, yes. We would still go out there when they tapped the water main
Okay.
and they connected to the sewer, and then at the disconnect of the Stillwater's electric utility to the house. We would go out there and perform that public-private interface inspection, but all the rest of the inspections, those and then gas, the rest of them would be performed by this third-party inspector.
Okay. And just to kind of get a couple questions that were asked, what's the typical permit fees for that? Just in that, so that those 10 permits we issue on an average, what would be a typical fee for all of that?
We issue one, we don't collect a permit, an inspection fee every time we go out there.
Okay.
Everything is included when that permit is issued up front.
Okay.
All of the fees are. So again, depends on the size of the house, if there's any re-inspections or anything like that. You can typically anticipate that just a building permit, not the water meter fee, the water can fee, the connection, the tie-on, the electric connection fee, any of those additional fees, but just the building permit fee, you're probably looking around $300
Okay.
that the city collects.
And so if we looked at this more and we decided to move forward, they would still have that $300 fee, and then we would also look at maybe doing, or they would have to pay for the inspector, obviously.
One of the things that we have looked at, and again, it would be up to the council to make this adjustment, but one of the things that we have looked at is having just a flat fee to cover administrative cost and any of those public-private interface connections that we're going out, and we would retain the obligation to perform the inspection. So our initial thought was $50. Come get your permit, pay us $50 for that permit fee that would cover all of those inspections and the processing of the paperwork, and then we would issue the permit. Hire the inspector, perform the inspections, bring the paperwork back to the city that the city will develop, that we will need to have to assure that those inspections are made and that there is compliance with those state-adopted minimum codes. Pay $25 a certificate of occupancy or a certificate of completion to help cover the administrative cost, and that would be it.
Okay. And are there any other municipalities doing this right now?
Not in Oklahoma.
Okay. And I think you've, in the past, there's other, I thought you sent us a link to another city that was doing it, but I can't remember.
Yes, when the idea came up, and I've told the builders group this in a couple of our meetings, that it took me about 2 weeks to wrap my head around it because I was in total shock. oh my gosh, what in the world are we thinking here? But we, working through it and doing research on it, there are a number of states that actually have private third-party inspector authorizations in their state statutes. The largest city we found, closest to us, Arlington, Texas, has a phenomenal program. We're not proposing anything as deep or as broad as Arlington's program, but the program that they have even prepared a brochure on how to become a private third-party inspector. Now, granted, it's about 38 pages long, and I do not propose doing anything like that.
Okay.
And I hear a lot of thank yous behind me silently.
And did you say how many, I know there's plans in the future, but how many current inspectors we have, like third-party inspectors available?
I did not say.
Okay.
That's still, I've had two people contact me who are very interested, and they're keeping watch to see what happens if this moves forward, because they have voiced their interest in becoming some of the inspectors that are available to Stillwater community.
Okay.
And that's just two. You heard, Mr. Schneider indicated that great opportunity for him. And I'm sure there are others out there, either in the audience or in the community, who may be interested. I will say this. We have spoken with a couple of folks from Meridian, and they are preparing to gear up to offer training courses to become a third-party certified inspector, depending on this program, to see how it moves forward.
Okay. And last question. Well, I mean, in your opinion, what is the biggest thing that you would like us to accomplish with this? I mean, what's our biggest problem of why we're wanting to do this?
I've had a couple of folks, actually a handful or so of folks, ask that why question. Why is the city looking at this? And one thing in particular triggered us just taking a look at it is when the state came in and the state said, local jurisdictions, you are no longer authorized to set the building code standards that apply to you. We're going to set them for you. Okay. Then we will take the opportunity to see how can the city be efficient? What are some of the efficiency considerations that city staff can take a look at, still having those assurances that those minimum codes are met, but where can we turn our focus to truly the public infrastructure, public-private connection, longevity of the public, and then the commercial, which is more in the public realm, the public use of those structures. And that's really what triggered it.
I was going to say two things stuck out in my mind with this, and it was cost and consistency. And I know that I'm certainly not a builder by any sense of the means, and I think this is a great beginning of a ground floor of a plan that I'm behind. I think that there are some things that probably need to be looked at a little bit more. I'm excited that if we're going to actually perhaps have that third party, that there's going to be some things put in place so that there is some consistency and some meat behind what we're doing. Meridian Technology Center has been approached to put some classes together that will provide the 4 ICC exams, so there is some consistency in the training as well as support for that process, which I think is very important. I hope the dialogue between the builders and the city staff continue, because I don't think one party knows all, and I want that dialogue to continue so that as we decide if we're going to move forward with this, then there is some input from both sides of it. I appreciate the fact that I think you're right, Paula. If the state has decided to take on that initiative, then we need to step back and relook at things. But I think we do need to look at the two things, cost and consistency. I want every builder to feel like they've got a fair shot at what they're building. That's why you're doing business.
I was just wondering if we added up all the years of experience of builders in the audience, it'd be huge. Yeah. So a lot of experience to draw on. And I love working together. And as Elaine has mentioned, if the state wants to be in charge of that, fine.
And I don't know how many of you know, city staff has a meeting with the executive committee from the home builders group every month. We have that set, it's scheduled. So they see me monthly. We all get to hang out together. We actually break bread together, usually during the holidays. So we sort of forego the business at that time and actually enjoy each other's company. But they definitely know how to get a hold of any of us here at City Hall, and they are not bashful in offering their opinions.
Well, this is impactful. This is a change.
It is.
And I think if we're going to do it the right way, then there needs to be everybody at the table making these decisions and make sure that everyone has all the information they need as well.
You did get a lot of laughs and kind of half sneers when you said that last thing.
I heard
About-
it.
You couldn't see it, I just thought I'd tell you. I'm just going to reiterate, I like that we're all working together. I think this is maybe the most important part of this, and I like that everybody has input, and that you're listening to all sides, and that you're offering, and that there's some give and take, and there's never just one way to do things.
Right.
So tonight, we are just going to tell you we want you to move on this. There's no vote, but...
Correct. If you would like for us to develop it further and iron out the details and then bring it back to you at some future date, that's all the direction that we need.
That would be my direction.
Would there be some specific steps that we know that you guys are doing? I mean, rather than just say, move forward with it, are there some specific things that we know that are really being looked at so that if there is some concerns, those are being addressed?
We have begun to develop some of the forms that would be used, and we have distributed those to the builders group that I meet with monthly, and we will further be developing those because there was some feedback on some of them already, so that would be part of the next steps that we do. And then further reaching out to Meridian for the training, their schedule, to help alleviate some of the concerns, because we have those concerns too. We do not want any of this to affect not only the builders group or the city, but the individual homeowners or the occupants of those residential structures. So, keeping those assurances, if it takes 3 more meetings with all parties involved to get to something to bring back to y'all, then so be it. If it takes, I hope it wouldn't take 10 or 12 more, but there's that possibility. We'll do whatever is necessary for everybody to be comfortable bringing it back to the council.
Okay, that's what I like to hear, that everybody to feel comfortable, public safety isn't being sacrificed in any way. So I don't think there's a rush to it. I think find out the answers, make sure everybody's on the same page, and we move forward.
Yes, we can do that.
And I'd like, just for my own, just some really good clarification on when we go forward. And I know you're going to get it, but just the permit fees, I really would like to see some good numbers. And inspection cost, I know that's a concern, and I know that is going to probably get put on the person that's actually going to pay to have the home built, but it's just a concern. And then oversight was a concern that first meeting you and I had, and I know it's a concern for everyone up here. I just want to try to figure out what's the best plan for that, and then I would like to get more homes built in Stillwater. I know there's a lot of home builders in this room, so I want to say that publicly. We need more homes. We need more starter homes. We will work with you to figure out what we need to do to get that done, but please help us. We have all been on this council for multiple years, and we have heard that it's hard to build in Stillwater. It's not cost effective to build in Stillwater. This is the first time that I've ever seen this many builders in this room to actually come out and speak for something. So please help us. We want to work with you. We want to make the city of Stillwater grow, because as you're well aware, sales tax is all we get to run our community. And so we need people to live in this community and to spend money in this community. I want JJ to sell as much lumber as he can at Hughes Lumber so that we're getting more sales tax. So please, work with Paula, work with the council. Let us help you build some more homes here.
Well, I want to point out that there is one final possibility. We could come back and say, hey, it just isn't going to work. We'll institute, or we'll pass the new code and move forward as usual. So.
Okay, so move forward with the planning.
Yes, ma'am. We have our orders.
Thanks to everybody who came out tonight to either listen or to give us your opinion. We really sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, that moves us, Mr. McNichol, to item B under general orders, 6th Avenue and Perkins Road design contract.
And Ms. Lovern will give that report.
Charlotte, they got it. I said, no, I'm not listening.
We should have passed around the.
I was going to say, Charlotte, evidently,
We're excited up here to hear this.
evidently amendment number 7 is not.
Amendment number 7 is not the
It's not
excitement of the
spellbound.
night. Yes. Are you ready? So I'm here to talk and answer a lot of questions that I'm sure you have about the 6th and Perkins project, and in particular, this request for your consideration to accept and possibly approve Amendment 7. This project has been going on a very long time. Since 2011 was the original contract, and that was approved by Council May 16th, 2011 with SAIC Energy. And in the amendment to the report, you may have seen that this design firm has changed names multiple times. So they were Benham, and then they became SAIC Energy, and then Leidos, and now they're back to Benham. So there's a little bit of confusion about the names, but they've, changed personnel, but we've been contracting with the original, same company all the way through, despite the name changes. We have had 6 prior amendments, and those were one in 2012, 2 in 2013, 1 in 2014, 1 in 2015, and now here 2 in 2016 as we wrap up and finish this project with respect to the design. Obviously, we have started construction about 3 weeks ago, and there's going to be a lot of activity, especially when they move to 24-hour work. But that
doesn't happen. When does that happen? October 8th?
Sometime following the 19th.
The 24-hour work could start next week, but they really want to get this project done. That doesn't mean that they're going to do traffic control until November 14th on a serious long-term basis. That's after the last home game. But obviously, we're trying to finish. We have a lot of design discussions back and forth. Amendment 6 covered those last design discussions that we need to have to finish out the contract through construction. This amendment number 7 is not to finish out construction. It is for design changes that occurred in the last few days, months of the project here in 2016. Sure, you have questions. It does explain what they're for. What this is amount in total of $24,603.80, and which is, this is a very large contract, all in all, when you come with the original one and amendments 1 through 6. So the 7th one, even though it's $24,000 plus, it's still coming to your attention with respect to the fact that we have an amendment number 7 for such a design contract. So about $11,000 of that were for pedestrian improvements, trying to update to latest ADA guidelines. Then we had $3,000 to modify the hardscaping, the aesthetic improvements. There were some different opinions that needed to be incorporated into those last changes. And $11,000 to meet all the conditions of the landowner agreements that had occurred back in 2014. So just reviewing them and making sure that we're meeting everything we intended to meet per those agreements. And of course, discussing these projects on a regular basis with the landowners as we go through the project under construction. This report is to request your consideration for either approving or not approving the amendment number 7 for the design contract. And this is project PWOF01, 6th Avenue and Perkins Road design contract. Do you have any questions?
just have one. Charlotte, in one sentence, can you say what the changes to the pedestrian improvements were?
Yes, well, one sentence.
Two sentences. Yeah.
Okay. The current ADA guidelines prefer that you have two separate points where you access the crosswalks, so that you don't combine the ramps for crosswalks going in different directions. So primarily it was to separate out the ramps and make sure that they did not use the same ramp, so that people could expect what direction to cross the street correctly. One long sentence.
That was good. I had a picture of that in my head. Thank you.
Do you need a vote from us?
I would like to have a vote from you. And,
like a positive vote?
Yes, the recommendation is that the council authorize staff to execute amendment number 7 to the Sixth and Perkins Professional Services Agreement with Benham Design LLC, their current name, and authorize expenditures up to $582,926.25 for the professional services, which includes amendment number 7 in the total of $24,603.80. Thank you for your time.
Motion to approve
So moved.
amendment number 7 with everything Charlotte just said.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to execute amendment number 7 with the name of the company and all of the recommendations from staff. Please vote. And we have a vote. It passes with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to resolutions.
Mayor, could we hold that until after we read these two ordinances? Because
Absolutely.
we need to do the second reading on ordinance 3351 before the resolution.
Okay, so I'm moving to item 9, ordinances. On first reading, Mr. Dorman.
Ordinance number 3353, an ordinance closing a portion of the platted alleyway between Stanley Street and Blakely Street and between 4th Avenue and 6th Avenue adjacent to properties addressed as 409 to 519 South Stanley Street, 1613 West 6th Avenue, 410 to 524 South Blakely Street, and 1303 to 1305 West 4th Avenue.
Motion to advance ordinance number 3353 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance number 3353. Please vote. And it advances with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to, on second reading, Mr. Dorman, item A.
Ordinance number 3351, an ordinance amending the Stillwater City Code by amending Chapter 16, Crimes, Miscellaneous Offenses and Provisions, Article 5, Offenses Against Public Authority, to create Section 16110, Unmanned Aircraft Systems Defined, Prohibitions, Exemptions, Violation, and declaring an emergency. So we'll actually need 2 votes on this item.
Okay, the first vote is
First vote would be to adopt the ordinance.
adopt, and the second is to,
To authorize the declaration of an emergency, which will make it go into effect upon publication this Thursday.
okay.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3351
Second.
and declare an emergency, or no? Can't do it
We'll do it one
It'll be
at
two-
a
it'd have to
time,
be 2
yeah.
votes. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 3351. Please vote. And ordinance number 3351 is adopted with a vote of 4-0. And now do we have a motion to do for authorizing declaration of an emergency?
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to declare an emergency. And with a vote of 4-0, that passes. I'll go back to resolutions.
Ready for the resolution
Okay.
now.
Resolution number CC-2016-29, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council prohibiting the flying of unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, during certain public events on October 28th and 29th, 2016. Mr. Dorman.
This resolution would basically prohibit the flying of UAS over the walk around, excuse me.
Showing your age.
I've already been corrected on this. And the parade. The dates and times are contained within the resolution, and there's also a map showing the area that is affected.
Okay. Counselors, discussion.
Motion to approve resolution CC 2016-29.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2016-29. Please vote. And with a vote of 4-0, that resolution is approved. That takes us to reports from officers and boards. City Attorney, Mr. Dorman.
A couple of items tonight, ma'am. Request an executive session for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the purchase or appraisal of real property pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307B3. And secondly, request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307C10 for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Stillwater, because public disclosure of the matter to be discussed would interfere with the development of products or services and would violate the confidentiality of the business.
Okay. Mr. McNichol.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One item, I think probably pretty well known at this point that all cities in Oklahoma are facing some pretty severe obstacles in terms of sales tax and sales tax performance. We are not unaffected, and because of that, staff is working right now on revising the FY 16-17 budget, and we will be using zero-based budgeting principles and other things to try to cut some of those expenses. But in addition to that, I would just urge everybody to know that cities in Oklahoma, unless there is a vote of the people, do not get a share of ad valorem tax. And the only way they get a share of ad valorem tax is for there to be a bond issue that's voted on by the people and passed, thereby including a certain level of tax on their ad valorem tax. So we live and die by sales tax here in Stillwater and all municipalities in Oklahoma. In fact, Oklahoma is the only state in the union where there is not a share of ad valorem tax. So one thing that I would like to point out to our citizens is that if you can at all, please buy local. It helps fund your police, fire, the library, development services, all of the services, the streets. If you can buy local, please do so. Buying on the internet, unless there is a brick and mortar structure in the state of Oklahoma, provides no sales tax on that item. And we're working on that with the federal government. We've talked to a couple of representatives about the Main Street Fairness Act, which has languished in Congress for quite some time. But we just point out that not only are you helping the city, but you're helping a local retailer who has also an investment in this city by making the purchase locally. So, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a great
Couldn't
variety.
agree. Yes,
so you can
we
spend
do.
the weekend shopping and have a variety. It's not the same thing over and over again.
And finding whatever you need.
That's right.
And then you find things you want.
Well,
So
yeah.
Please shop local. Please shop local.
Or you could shop 7 days a week.
I could.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Okay, that takes us to, thank you, Mr. McNichol. City councilors, do you have any news?
I have good news. People are always asking about Country Club Road and Sanger Road, and the last 2016 pavement management project will begin this week. Project consists of new asphalt surface and drainage improvements on Country Club Road from 19th to 6th Avenue, and currently milled asphalt surface replaced with new asphalt surface on Sanger Road from 19th Avenue to 6th Avenue. For road and lane closures, go to stillwater.org/closings.
Counselor Zanotti.
All right, well, Dad, I hope you heard that, because that's begging me
A lot of people.
I had more fun this last weekend being on social media and seeing that this past Friday night was the Mummy and Sundance. It took place at the community center. And if you want some more spectacular fun, it continues this week in the City of Stillwater's 26th Annual Halloween Festival on Tuesday, October 25th, so a week from tomorrow night, in downtown Stillwater between 7th and 10th Avenues. The festival will run from 5 to 8 p.m. with a costume parade set to begin at 6:30 p.m. So next Tuesday, October 25th, be downtown with costumes on, ready to celebrate a spectacular celebration.
Such a fun event, too. Counselor Nahara.
Yes, you are invited to meet with your city councilors and city manager at an office hours session this Tuesday, October 18th. Vice Mayor Pat Darlington and Councilor Elaine Zanotti and City Manager Norman McNichol will meet with citizens and students at 5:30 p.m. in room 211 at the Oklahoma State University Student Union, located on the second floor on the east side of the building.
It's either 211 or 212. We're not for sure about it.
I know it's
I'm checking.
211.
Yes, I know your note does, and then I think I've seen it somewhere, so they're probably right next to each other.
Just look
Swap
for
in
all the
both
people.
places,
Just look for the line
Look
out
where
the door. That would
look
be
for the
the
big line.
Knock on both
211.
doors.
211,
Don't get confused with Chick-fil-A.
211?
yeah.
Okay.
East Meeting Room across from the Campus Life Desk at 211, Student Union.
Okay, and I want to talk to you about signs. The City of Stillwater wants to remind residents about where temporary signs may be posted within city limits. Temporary ground signs are signs not permanently attached to the ground and designed to be displayed for a limited period of time. Key there is limited. Temporary signs may not be placed on public property such as city parks or any public structures. This includes traffic signs, utility poles, and bus shelters. Thank you for your cooperation. Anything else? Okay, at this time, I'm going to recess this meeting and go to our Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting. It is 6:30, almost 6:37. Then we'll come back to the city council meeting for the exec. I need to vote out of the, no? No, okay, okay. So I call the Stillwater Utilities Authority regular meeting to order. Trustees, does anyone wish to approve the consent docket, or would you like to pull something?
Motion to approve consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. And the consent docket is approved with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to reports from officers and boards. General Counsel?
Nothing to report, ma'am.
General Manager?
Nothing. Thank you.
Trustees?
No, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting. Please vote. And it is adjourned with a vote of 4-0. That brings us back to City Council. And do we vote to go into?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we have a motion to vote to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session, please.
We have a motion and a second to move to executive session. Please vote. And with a vote of 4-0, we are moving into executive session.